I predict the decline of MrBeast. There's probably about 1,000 different YouTube videos out there that have some kind of title like that. But mine's a bit different from theirs. So mine is not about YouTube or anything like this. It is more about his health. I predict the health decline of MrBeast, and today I'm going to explain why. Let me start with a little bit of context. So about 3 years ago, my son, who was about 7 at the time, he introduced me to MrBeast. He would watch a lot of YouTube, and he was watching a lot of this MrBeast guy, and I had no idea who he was, but I would put my son to sleep, and we would watch a little bit of MrBeast every night, and I got to know him, and I started to really enjoy it. Like, it's totally true that I think regardless of what age you are, you can enjoy a lot of these videos that MrBeast is doing. Who is this guy, MrBeast, first of all? Because I think some of you guys probably don't know him. If you don't know him, I think you've been sitting under a rock for like the last 2 years. He's the world's #1 YouTuber. He's an American guy, lives in North Carolina. He's about 27 years old right now. He's got 324 million YouTube subscribers across all his channels. And that's probably something like 2x whoever is second. On his videos, so you can look at his main YouTube channel, like his videos often do over 300 million views, right? So that is just absolutely crazy. And to put it in perspective, the Super Bowl does about 113 million views these days, right? So every single video he puts up is like 2.5 Super Bowls, right? And you can just imagine how much the advertisers on Super Bowls pay. And then that is the type of monetization that MrBeast brings. He's done an amazing trajectory because he's only 27. He started, I think, when he was 13, and he was just crazy about YouTube. He's branched out now beyond YouTube. So he's got several different channels, and he's got physical products like his chocolate bar, Feastables. He had a burger chain. He's gotten into a number of other things. So he's killing it, right? He's doing absolutely awesome for his age. So many Gen Z, Gen Alpha entrepreneurs look at MrBeast as just the absolute icon of their generation. Where it's like my generation was more Mark Zuckerberg or Sergey Brin and Larry Page. Like, those were my icons growing up. But my kids, it is MrBeast. So now a little bit about why I think he's going to decline. So I was watching a lot of videos in 2023 with my son, and we were going back in time to his earlier videos. And when you look back in time at MrBeast's earlier videos, he was always he was a tall, naturally skinny guy. Very good spine. As a person who looks at spines every single day, everyone around me, every person I see on TV and whatnot, I can tell you, he had a very good spine. And so his neurology was quite healthy. Then at some point in 23, we hit this video that he had actually filmed sometime in 21. And he takes out this Invisalign from his mouth. And I'm like, oh shit, MrBeast is doing Invisalign. And I immediately thought to myself, okay, here it goes. Clock starting. Here comes the decline of MrBeast. And I even posted on this small Facebook group that I have. And I posted on March 9th, 2023, just to kind of timestamp that I was predicting this. At that time, his neck and spine were in pretty good shape, right? But the minute that you wear Invisalign, so there's a couple problems with Invisalign. First of all, the dentists that do it have no idea how this whole curve of speed thing works, right? So some of them, even with the Invisalign, will flatten, using the aligners, your curve of speed, which will do immense damage to your spine and your skull and your neurological function over time, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen in year 1, year 2. That's the biggest problem with aligners and braces, is that the damage is done in 5, 10, 15 years and not in 1, right? If it was 1, people would get the correlation. But when it takes 10, 15 years, you have time to other things happen, and people don't necessarily blame the aligners. But the other problem with aligners is that it could flatten it during the process, if that's what the dentist does, according to his theory. But the other problem is that after you take it off, you're typically supposed to put on a retainer, right? And this retainer can sometimes be painful. And so a lot of people start taking it off. And so as soon as you take it off, teeth start moving. And generally what happens, they start moving in a bad way. So your curve of teeth will flatten further. You will sometimes grind your teeth flatter. So all those things are bad. And so I have so many examples I could point to of people I personally know But some of them I even said, don't do aligners. They did it anyway. And then they've gone through some version of this. And then, so now for the I told you so part. So 2023, I'm watching Colin and Samir. It's his channel it's like a podcast about creators and pretty popular. And they have MrBeast on as a guest. And MrBeast gets on talking about how he's having weight problems and how he put on a ton of weight. And then he got a personal trainer and now he's on this huge health kick and he dropped the weight and he was really proud. But the old MrBeast, right, pre-21, he had no weight problems by default, right? It didn't matter what he did. He just didn't put on weight because he had this great spine and neck. And by 23, a year and a half, 2 years after he'd begun the aligners, he was already having weight issues. And I can tell in his videos these days that he's like, his spine has changed, like his neck has changed. And here was one screenshot that I pulled out of a video where, you can see that like now he used to have this nice horizontal profile and now it's more kind of diagonal. So I believe that this kind of structural collapse is in full effect. And it's only a matter of time before that begins to impact him cognitively and neurologically more and more. And when he does that, all the things that he took for granted are not going to come as easy to him. Like relationships. He's going to start damaging relationships that when he was always just naturally good at relationships. And I think if you read some of the press around MrBeast's team and whatnot, there's a fair bit of controversy, right? And you can tell that there's infighting and like there's some shit going on that didn't really happen before. Some of that might be because they're just operating at a different level and they're scaling and whatnot. But like part of that, I think, is also due to the fact that MrBeast is probably dealing with these relationships a lot worse. And that's something that I myself faced and, like digressed on and improved and went back and forth like a yo-yo for years. So I predict that, Jimmy's problems, his name is Jimmy Donaldson, have only begun, that things are going to get worse, and that you're going to see more and more out in the public as he begins to decline, and that his body, his neck, his skull, like those things are going to visibly decline in the coming years, and all of this is going to lead to his decline of his career. So let's see.